We'll let the Spencer Rattler era in New Orleans start. It's going to happen on Sunday when they take on the Buccaneers. Hi, folks. John Hendricks here, Second and Saints, Saints News Network on Sports Illustrated. Let's obviously talk about the big news of the day. Wednesday, Dennis Allen naming Spencer Rattler, their rookie, as their starting quarterback when they play the Buccaneers on Sunday. Now, look, it's probably going to be the starter on Thursday when they play the Broncos, since it is a short week. So we probably will get at least 2 games of Spencer Rattler starting. And so Dennis Allen saying on Wednesday afternoon that think he gives them the best chance to win. And obviously he's very excited about the opportunity. Jake Hayner's pretty disappointed, to say the least, but they like what Spencer Rattler is able to bring to the table. They've had internal discussions. And so, look, it's interesting because this team has to win, right? Like, I think that's the first main takeaway, is that the Bucs are in town. They're dealing with, all the stuff, and in New Orleans, obviously that's a big deal right now. And um, for Spencer Rattler, we saw him in preseason. We saw how good he can be and how much he can operate in this offense. I think it's a very comfortable one for him. His footwork is great. I think his mobility is strong. I think he can make some really good throws. Has kind of like that it factor. I think that's really kind of where we look at when we look at Spencer Rattler. And so, I think this now is a must-watch game for a lot of people. I think it's really going to be interesting. And, you know, if he plays well, it doesn't matter. Like, in the sense of Dennis Allen saying Derek Carr's still going to be their starter when he's healthy. Like, I know people are going to start making this thing start going to that thing where they say, okay, well, if Spencer Rattler balls out, you can't make a quarterback change. Now you can't go back to Derek Carr, and it's going to be all this thing. But I just know Dennis Allen, Derek Carr, that relationship. Derek Carr is going to be the starter. Dennis Allen saying as much, obviously, on Wednesday. So again, I hope Spencer Rattler balls out. Like, I think that's the thing, is he's very easy to root for. I think he can make some really crazy throws. I think his arm is strong. I think he's definitely somebody that, when you look at this offense, going to be able to step in and hopefully just be able to execute. I think that's the biggest thing. And we still have questions on the offensive line. Cesar Ruiz, he's trending in the right direction, like he's getting closer, but I'd be surprised kind of if he's able to come back. And now Lucas Patrick has a chest injury. They held a walkthrough practice only on Wednesday, so it wasn't like a full glorified practice, but he's not having the groin now. It's now having to deal with this. And so it'll be interesting to see if that's who's going to be end up playing on the left guard, or if he's going to be at center, if it's going to be Connor McGovern. Like, there's moving parts and pieces, right? And so I think the Saints offensive line is obviously going to be one of the biggest keys for Spencer Rattler to help get him settled in, be a little bit more comfortable. They got to get that running game going. I think that's obviously another big one. I'd be surprised if Taysom Hill does come back, but rookie quarterbacks have done pretty well so far in this league. And I think you even look back at last year, there's some really good success stories out there. And so I think sky's the limit for Spencer Rattler. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's going to throw for 350 and 3 touchdowns and just light up the Bucs, but at the same time, they just let Kirk Cousins get over 500 yards. So I think he could have a good day, but I think a lot of it is going to be poise for him, and just being able to, see what kind of playbook he's going to be operating with. But, look, this is a fun thing, at least. I mean, this is the bottom line is New Orleans has to win a game. It's an NFC South game. They need to put a win together, right? Losing 3 straight Chiefs was kind of like hitting the wall, right? I think that's kind of where they've hit the wall, is that, we said on Second and Saints that it was more about the way they lost, about how they were outplayed and outcoached and all these other things, that's more of a concern. And so, look, you got to do what's necessary. So I'm interested to see what the Chris Olave, Spencer Rattler pipeline is going to look like, what it's going to look like for some of the tight ends like Juwan, who's getting an uptick in playing time now that he's healthy. And so, and then if Kendre Miller makes a return, that's going to be another one to watch out for. And so, it's interesting, right? Like, it's a fun time. And of course, if you guys want to know more about Spencer Rattler, I know you guys saw him preseason. Go back to what we had in training camp. You can see all of our shows, all of our recaps. Like, we talked about Spencer Rattler at length. Like, I don't know what else needs to be said. Like, you can see days at practice where he just puts it all together and he looks great. And then I think what really hurt him is when he got hurt in camp. with that thigh contusion and such. And that's when he just started not looking himself a little bit. But he's made some great throws. I mean, he's made some really killer throws. He looks like he's somebody that, at least for this next two games, that will be really a fun thing to see out there in the Superdome. And look, the Broncos defense is going to be a good one to go up against, but same thing as Todd Bowles' defense. I mean, this is going to be a tough task for Spencer Rattler. And I think this is where game planning and Clint Kubiak and Andrew Janako, their quarterback coach, has got to make sure they put together a game plan that they're going to feel really comfortable around, and that Spencer Rattler can go and execute. Now, again, being at home versus being on the road, that's actually really advantageous for Spencer Rattler. And I just really think that when it's all said and done, uh, not getting too far ahead, at least you're seeing now what you have in him, right? Like, this is a situation where, if he doesn't play particularly well, maybe he's not the guy that you thought he was playing these next two games. And I don't think that necessarily, but it's going to be an interesting quandary if he does play really well. And next year, I mean, I've told you guys plenty on Second and Saints. I've wrote about it that I think Da and Derek Carr are back for another year after this one, unless they just absolutely tank, which I just don't see that happening. But they got a lot of injuries that they're having to work with. Very concerning on the injury front, but they've got to find a way. But man, Spencer Rattler starting. This is exciting time. And look, I'd say Jake Hayner's worked his tail off, right? Like, I know he's disappointed in it. He's been quarterback number two. Jake is kind of that stable presence, and I think Spencer Rattler gives them a little bit more of that upside in some aspects. But, I think Jake can run this offense. I think he can take command. I think he could play extremely well too. But I think when you look at all the factors and just kind of what they're looking for out of this game, and especially the next two games, like, this is what you're looking at. Derek Carr, again, like I said, consider week to week with an oblique strain. So we've got a little bit more context on that. And the fact is, like you said, falling in the game, that he just couldn't even do the things in his simplest form. So, look, that's a thing to look at. I don't think he'll be obviously back for the short week, but they got a mini bye after the Broncos. So that 10-day window, maybe he gets healthy and he's able to play in the next one. But for the Saints, look, it's again, do or die type thing. I hate saying that because you're only 2-3 and it's week 6, but they got to get a win and they need some type of injection and they need their defense to come in and play, right? Like, I think their defense has really, I don't say fallen off, but they definitely aren't playing the way they're capable of playing. And I think we've seen that for weeks now. And I think you even go back to last year, and I think you've seen it some too. And so there's some good things. There's some not so good things, and there's some really not so good things. And you got Baker Mayfield coming to town. He can deal. They did the best against him last year in that game when they were playing in Tampa, but he got him on the first game. So I'm interested to see that dynamic. But Superdome's going to be rocking, man. And again, when Derek Carr's healthy, when he's ready to come back, that he's going to be that starter. And so I know it's a thing, but it's super exciting. Spencer Rattler getting the start against the Buccaneers in week 6 and should be week 7 when they play the Broncos. That's going to be real fun to see if a rookie quarterback can beat out Sean Payton. Not getting too ahead of ourselves, but when Sean is drafting quarterbacks here, it just wasn't so hot, right? Like, I mean, he had Ian Book, the Garrett Grayson, and such. I mean, they just couldn't get development the way they needed to. And this is when they took Rattler, and even when they had Jake Hayner on here, I felt good about the future of both because they finally have the coaching staff that can develop quarterbacks, right? And again, that's no disrespect to the guys from before him, but Andrew Janako and his intentionality as a coach, Clint Kubiak and his intentionality and his hands-on, like the way they operate and in tandem together is just so glorifying to see, I guess, in some aspects. Like, it's like poetry in motion, like the way that they sync and feed off each other and the way that they operate. So I'm looking forward to it. You should be looking forward to it. Spencer Rattler, I know, is going to be looking forward to it. I think everybody in that Superdome is going to be looking forward to seeing what Spencer Rattler is able to do. Saints got to win, and hopefully they come away with a win. We're going to have plenty more on the Saints Bucs game. Again, check out all the written work. Check out Ross's work over at LouisianaSports.net. And then obviously check out Locked On Saints, and then make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We will talk at you very soon. John Hendricks signing out.